Hello, this is a walkthrough of my final project for multimedia storytelling. So I did my final project on Jeff Lee. Jeff is a senior at Linfield College. He is a cross-country runner, biology major, and a resident advisor. I envisioned this project being something that would be published in a journal like the New York Times as a feature story that would go in depth on Jeff and just what he does. I chose Jeff as a subject because he's a very interesting person who does a lot and has done everything that he does well. He really succeeds in all aspects of his life and is pretty successful. So I'll give you a quick tour of the page. As you can see, this is the front page to the final project. There's just a brief introduction here. And then to get to the information, here are the pages on the side. So the first link is to photos of Jeff. So I followed Jeff around and kind of took photos of some of the stuff he does in his everyday life. And so I captured some of those things here. I think that these photos kind of illustrate how Jeff goes throughout his everyday life and some of the behind the scenes footage of what it means to be a biology major or resident advisor. I also have included multiple audio interviews with Jeff. So this one up here is the entire interview, but it came out to be around 12 minutes. So I thought that some of the audience members might only want to listen about certain things, as that would be part of his appeal. For instance, since Jeff is a runner, you could just listen to this audio clip right here, and I've compiled all of the parts from the interview where Jeff is only talking about running, so that might be more interesting to some folks. Again, the same with some of his extracurricular pursuits are right here, and this last one is just kind of some clips that I thought really described Jeff well, kind of what makes him tick, and is just a good description of him. Right here is my infographic about Jeff. So it's just a explanation of some of the things I touched on in the photos and audio. So right here, for example, there is a graph of how he placed at our cross-country regional meet throughout his last 4 years. And that's basically what the infographic does. It goes into depth on what and onto some of the things that I previously touched on and brings light to some of those things. So I chose the infographic for this project because I think that it is a good visual representation of some of the things that I've talked about in my audio and photo portion of this project, but it helps you visualize it. For example, this graph I think is a good way to see how Jeff performed, and in the audio he touches on some of the struggles he had in the middle 2 years of his career, and that infographic does a good job to explain it. I think that the infographic is a good way to get a lot of the information that can be a little bulkier out to the audience. I chose to do audio for the story because I think that Jeff has a very entertaining voice and a very good voice for audio, so I thought that was a really good way for the audience to get to know him. I think that the audio adds the most to this project, and without the audio, it would be really difficult to understand Jeff as a person. I chose the photos for the main reason so that the audience could see Jeff and see what he looks like, because I think the way he carries himself is also a big part of his personality. I imagine that this product would be distributed in, as I already mentioned, a major news organization such as the New York Times. It would be a feature story, so that's how the audience would get to it. This particular piece would have to be for the online version of the New York Times because it is a multimedia production and some of the features would not be uh, applicable to print. Another possible outlet for this would be the school newspaper, the Linfield Review, because Jeff is a well-known person on campus, and it applies directly to Linfield and is a feature story for them. So that's a look at my final project for multimedia storytelling.